Okay, so today we're going to do a deep dive into something pretty complex.
Yeah.
It's the belief system surrounding the Omnissiah in the Warhammer 40K universe.
Right.
And, you know, based on everything that you've sent over, what exactly is the Omnissiah, and why is this figure, you know, sometimes such a source of disagreement or intense devotion?
Yeah.
So those are our central questions for today.
Yeah.
And we'll try to unpack these pretty crazy facts you've given us.
Yeah, absolutely. You've given me a ton of material here, and it really kind of shows the, you know, the different layers and sometimes contradictory nature of the machine god.
Right.
So our mission today is to distill those core beliefs from the kind of the more speculative stuff so that you can really grasp the significance of the Omnissiah.
All right. So at its heart, the Adeptus Mechanicus believe that the Omnissiah is the machine god, like the ultimate source of technology and science.
Yes.
And a vital ally to humanity.
That's right. Yeah. The Cult Mechanicus, they see technology as inherently divine. They don't just see it as tools. They believe that the Omnissiah is behind all of the perfect design and function.
Yeah.
And that there's this divine spark that elevates technology.
And this belief extends to humanity itself. Right. And they're the chosen ones. The knowledge is revealed through prophets.
Right.
So it's a very direct line.
Precisely. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. A very, very widespread tenet within the Cult Mechanicus is that they believe that the Omnissiah is one and the same with the God Emperor of mankind.
But if that's the case, then why does the imperial cult maintain such a distinct theology?
Yeah.
Are there sources that reconcile these views, or is it just constant friction?
It's a great point, and this fundamental disagreement has led to actual, outright conflict and suspicion between these really powerful factions, you know, that impacts their resource allocation and their strategies.
Of course, yeah.
The imperial cult has its own understanding of the emperor's divinity.
Right.
And this creates this persistent tension with the Mechanicus equation of the two.
So the Cult Mechanicus has this Holy Trinity right.
Yes.
To explain it all. The machine god as the origin.
Right.
The Omnissiah, often the emperor in this context.
Yes.
As a representative. And then the motive force.
Yes.
What is that exactly, and how does it fit in?
So think of the motive force as kind of like the energy within the machine.
Okay.
The animating spirit that allows it to function. So it's like what allows a cogitator to process data or a laser to fire.
It's the go part of the technology.
It's the go, exactly.
So how does that relate to the machine god and the Omnissiah? Is it like the power source that's created by the machine god and channeled through the Omnissiah, or?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to understand it. So the machine god is like the ultimate creator of the principles of technology.
Yeah.
The Omnissiah is kind of like the guiding hand and the representative.
Okay.
And then the motive force is like the lifeblood that makes it all work.
Okay, so we've got this intricate understanding of the divine within the Adeptus Mechanicus. But as with many things in the grim darkness of the future, there's like a dissenting voice.
Right.
The Dark Mechanicum and their views are pretty different.
Yes, indeed. They reject the Emperor as the Omnissiah.
Okay.
And instead, they believe that the true power of the machine god resides in chaos undivided.
Wow.
Which puts them in direct opposition to the Imperium.
Huge contrast there. And then we get into some of the truly intriguing but maybe more speculative ideas.
Right.
The void dragon theory on Mars.
Yeah, that's a wild one.
Yeah.
What's so fascinating is the possibility, you know, the lore hints that the Omnissiah could be this ancient, incredibly powerful entity called the Void Dragon imprisoned beneath Mars.
Right.
It's very speculative, but the idea that the Mechanicus' ultimate deity could be this powerful, imprisoned alien entity raises some really fascinating questions about the true nature of their faith.
Yeah.
And the potential for a future awakening, you know, that would have massive consequences for the Imperium.
And then there's also this idea that the Omnissiah isn't a literal being at all.
Right.
But more of a personification of their core values.
Exactly. It could represent their dedication to knowledge, the superiority of technology over flesh.
Right.
And this constant pursuit of innovation. It's the embodiment of their ideals and principles.
The sources also briefly mention the Men of Iron theory.
Yeah.
Which is that the machine spirits in the technology are actually like remnants of ancient sentient machines.
Right.
That chose to become less aware to better serve humanity.
It's a mind-bending thought, right?
Yeah.
It raises the question about, you know, the nature of sentience and the cooperation between humans and machines in the past.
Right.
It suggests that history is a lot more complex than the current dogma allows for.
Finally, we have the judgment of the machine god, which, where entire populations are put in stasis until they're deemed worthy.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful illustration of their commitment.
It highlights how important the Omnissiah is to their worldview.
Yeah.
And their willingness to take these extreme measures in its name. And if we connect that to the bigger picture, it shows us how deeply ingrained this belief system is within their society.
Right.
And how that shapes their interactions with the rest of the Imperium.
So to recap quickly, you now know that the Omnissiah is this multifaceted concept.
Right.
It's the machine god of the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Yes.
Often equated with the Emperor, which leads to theological tension.
Right.
Possibly linked to powerful ancient entities.
Yeah.
Like the Void Dragon, or even just representing the core principles of their faith.
Exactly.
It's complex.
It's a complex and contested figure at the heart of this whole society.
This deep dive reveals a civilization where faith and technology are just totally linked.
Absolutely.
Shaping this huge, powerful faction in the Warhammer 40K universe.
It's a fascinating faction.
So that brings us to a final thought for all of you. Imagine a society where faith and technology are so deeply intertwined.
Yeah.
What are the benefits and dangers that might come from that, even in a fictional context? And what does this tell us about our own relationship with technology as it keeps growing and the values that we ascribe to it?
A lot to think about there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.